So the significance of Senate Bill 743 out of California was that in the past, we've only had one performance metric and one performance metric only. And that is not satisfying when you're only looking at the level of service or the number of vehicles going through an intersection to a community who is much more interested in the full impacts of either land use development or a transportation project. So what vehicle miles traveled does is it allows us to have a measure that helps us look at everything from emissions through to how other modes can play a part in community development. So vehicle miles traveled is a much better metric when you're trying to actually have a conversation with a community about outcomes in terms of community development and community impacts, so that you can actually work with engineers on performance-based practical design and practical solutions. If you don't start the conversation out with what outcomes that you actually want to achieve with a transportation project or a land use project, and you only have one tool, which was level of service in the past, it didn't allow you to have that full conversation. So vehicle miles traveled allows you to be able to have yet another metric added to this conversation to get at some of those outcomes, specifically around emissions and other modes being able to play a part, so that the engineers in the next step and work that they do of planning and engineering can actually focus on performance-based design, which allows us to meet those other metrics, not just the single metric of level of service. I think California is well on its way to adopting this. The questions are more technical about how to model vehicle miles traveled, at what scale do you model it, and what are the assumptions you're going to need to make now versus in the future when there's more data, more big data, more information. Once they figure that out, I think there are a lot of states that will then start to be able to implement, because not only will there be local experience with it, but there will also be consulting community that actually understands it and can implement it. And that's what's going to take, is that's the spread of the knowledge is not just policy development, it's the actual technical knowledge to be able to make it work. And I think that combination will start to play out over time, especially as we see our urban areas become much more dense, and automated vehicles, shared use, the number of transit vehicles out there all start to play in a mix in being able to get to a performance metric that allows you to know that you're moving more people and more freight and not necessarily more cars.